mode. And yeah, I thought we were live. We were not. But now we're here. So hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Bebo, and this is Nathan.
Hey, everybody. How's it
And
going?
Nathan owns Pandasaurus Games and also writes some fabulous content as of recently that I've been enjoying reading, so thank you for that.
Thanks for reading it.
And today we're here to talk about Godspeed, which you all contacted me about a couple weeks ago, and the only thing you would tell me was the space race was a lie. And now I watched the trailer, and I was like, what? This is Stargate! This is incredible! So, I'm really excited about this game. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us, or me,
Yeah,
as it were.
it's all good. So, what inspired Godspeed? I mean, obviously the designers pitched it to you guys. Did it already have the theme intact?
Oh, no, it did not. The original theme, and we went far enough to get artwork for this before we all realized what a mistake we were making. It was called Alpacalypse, and it was about different societies of alpacas trying to rebuild the world after the apocalypse.
Okay.
And it's real funny for like 15 to 20 seconds, and then you're playing a game about alpacas. And so we liked the game enough that we knew we wanted to do it, but we had to figure out a new theme. So it's a civ building game at its heart, and we were trying to come up with something that fit the mechanics really well. And we think that this does because it's got some Cold War kind of intrigue. And this game has some blind bidding and some like light cooperative elements where you still don't trust other players. And we sort of thought that that was a good place to put it. And that way it's not just like, Sid Meier's Civilization or something like that. So it fit mechanically really well, and it was neat. I like space. So
Yeah, space is cool. And I'm super into Stargate. And so the second I watched the trailer, I was like, oh yes, this is my jam.
yeah, we have a really we're like super lucky. We have like a cheat code. One of our friends, like IRL friends, like does feature movies. So he kind of does this suited, like it's not like real nice, but for not very much money, he can like shoot it really well and bring in professionals. So we take advantage.
That's pretty sweet. But who came up with the Godspeed theme specifically?
I'm gonna take credit for that. I think it was initially me. The name was definitely me, and then we all started talking about it as a team, talking about the designers, and kind of everyone jumped on board and started building out the world. Brought in Banana Chan, and she's done a lot of writing for it to kind of flesh it out a little bit more and kind of give us a story Bible so that we're consistent in kind of how we talk about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everybody who's watching that doesn't know anything about the universe, how would you describe the universe of Godspeed to somebody who'd never heard of it before?
Yeah, so it started in like the early to mid 60s. The game itself is set in the early 70s, so we've kind of gotten there for a little bit and started building out. But the idea is that portals were discovered to a planet called Minos. It's in the Ursa Majoris star system.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that these portals opened up on these different countries. We're not really sure why or how that happened. Like, they just kind of appeared. Or were discovered. And the idea is that this is what was actually going on in the early days of the space race, and that everything that we're aware of was like a giant cover-up to justify the massive budgets that went into kind of settling and building and developing this planet up in order to kind of figure out what's going on there. And when everyone got there, there were some like relics of a really advanced civilization, but whoever built it is like long gone.
Okay.
So there's no like aliens running around, but there are some alien relics still hanging out. That is one of the things that like drove everyone to this planet, is to go like mine those, get the technology and information, and send it back to Earth.
Okay. That's pretty neat. Sorry, I was watching the slideshow that I put up. Yeah. And so what can you tell us about the artwork in the game and how it brings the game to life to help sell the experience of Godspeed?
Yeah, so when we were looking into the new theme, the new setting, we were looking at like who does kind of really cool art in the industry that is different and unique and evocative of something that's like familiar but still foreign. So we didn't want it to be like, we wanted to be more rooted in like science fiction and not science fantasy. And we didn't want to do like pulp sci-fi look. And as we kept going around, I was like, Unearth's a really pretty game. Like, it's really pretty.
It is.
And Jesse Riddle, who's the illustrator on that, it's the only game he's ever done. And so we just reached out to him. We're like, hey, do you want to help us with this world and the setting? And he was super in. And he had actually had, like, I knew him from Unearth, and Molly knew him from Unearth. I'm pointing at her desk like she's here. She is not. But we knew him from Unearth, and we really liked his structures in that game and kind of the, otherworldly quality to that art style. And he has an entire series of like sci-fi and faces that he had like on his website, and we're like, oh, well, okay. Like, he has this kind of Blade Runner inspired series of like art that he just did for fun. And that's not exactly what we wanted, but we saw, we're like, this is pretty close to how we were envisioning it anyway, which is how, and that, and it's colorful, and it's not just red or gray. Because we wanted this to be a verdant planet, not just, like, we wouldn't all show up and mine, like, the moon, because there's not much there, right? So we needed it to be something that had a reason that all of these countries were, like, willing to go there and sort of fight over it.
So portals. That was it. That's awesome. So your campaign is currently your goal was $30,000. You blew that out of the water in what, 2 days?
No, like an hour.
Well, I mean, like, as of now, it's been 2 days. You're at 151,000.
We're doing, it exceeded expectations by a lot. 1,900
backers already, almost 2,000. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is some of the most critical advice that you could give somebody that is running their first Kickstarter campaign? Because this also is not a cheap game. It's a $70 base game, right?
Yeah. It's, it's kind of funny. We ran, our first Kickstarter we ran in 2012 for Tammany Hall. And that was like the early days of Kickstarter, when it was like still pretty new and board games had just started to show up. I guess 2011 was like the first year of board game Kickstarters. And we were the sixth highest funded Kickstarter ever with Tammany Hall at like less than our current pledge total on this campaign.
Oh my gosh.
So it's gotten different. If you're wanting to run a first time campaign, the two biggest pieces of advice I would say is, don't launch it as a concept. You need to have art. You need to have at least a playable prototype to get into reviewers and previewers' hands. And I know it's hard because like that stuff costs money, but you really at this point, if you want to succeed, you have to spend some money up front to get it looking good. I'm not saying you have to have 100% of art done, but you should at least have enough pieces and enough game that you could send out a pretty good looking game.
Right.
The other piece of advice I would say is be realistic in how much you can afford to make the game for. So like the two biggest red flags that I see on new Kickstarters are setting an overly low funding goal unless you have like your own money that you're willing to put in. Like I see campaigns from companies launch with like a $10,000 goal. It's a brand new company. And I can look at that and say like, yeah, that's going to cost at least $50,000 to deliver. So like, don't set low goals because you want to be like, we funded in 5 minutes. Like set a goal that you actually can afford to do the game, and just be really careful with other people's money once you get it. I know that that's a thing, but once you fund, assuming it happens, like make sure that you are on it and you know exactly what it's going to cost, and don't assume. I know. Early Kickstarter mistakes, a lot of people assume that other campaigns know what they're doing, and you just charge what other campaigns do. Like, actually go in and research it, like figure it out. Don't guess what your game's going to weigh when you charge shipping, or if you're doing free shipping, you factor in what shipping's going to cost.
Right.
Like, like figure out what it's going to weigh, because like shipping can be bad.
Right. And there are a lot of new shipping changes coming right now to the industry
Yep.
because there's going to probably be some USPS strikes, which are
Yep.
going to dramatically impact shipping costs. And so we need
There,
to be careful and plan really far out.
yeah, and also obviously there's kind of that, and I wrote a blog post about it that I don't need to go into it, but like with tariffs potentially looming in the U.S. And I won't get into what my opinions on that, but be careful, because you could wind up paying 10 or 15% of the cost of goods as a tariff to come into the United States. Um, when you decide to make your campaign EU friendly, like understand what that means. It means that you're going to be paying the value add tax charges on those games. So like you will make less money on your European copies than you will on copies going to the US. And keep an eye on Brexit, because that's a thing. And if you're planning on fulfilling out of the UK to all of Europe, and in the interim between raising the money and shipping the games, that changes. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how taxes there work, but we have a lawyer that we can ask who does international taxes, to like be cognizant that like you run a business now and political changes can impact you, and things like a USPS strike. You got to start shipping stuff UPS that you planned on shipping, flat rate, your cost could go up, 10, 20%. And if you haven't accounted for that, like that could be bad.
Right. Absolutely agree. So we haven't talked much about you. We've talked a lot about Godspeed. And while I love that, I ask everybody the same question on my show every time, which is, how did you end up getting into the hobby? And, what was your gateway game?
My gateway game. Okay, well, let's start with gateway game. It was Settlers of Catan, which is like probably the most obvious answer, but it was the digital version on Xbox Live Arcade.
What?
Yeah, and like right when the 360 launched, like Microsoft Europe like paid for these like weird German games to be made digital, and I was like, sure, I'll play that for $5, and I loved it. And then I just went out and bought a lot of real board games.
That's
So
so
that's a
funny.
weird way to get into the industry or back into it. I loved them when I was a kid, but then I like lapsed, and then that got me back.
Right, but when I think board games, I do not think Xbox at all.
No, I mean I don't think it did well. I think I'm like the one guy in America who's like, let's buy this weird German board game and play it on my Xbox.
Now Pandasaurus games exist because of it.
Exactly.
Well,
Um,
that's a great origin story.
That's a thing. How we started it, like Molly and I, we were engaged at the time. No, we weren't even. Were we engaged? We were either engaged or about to be
You
engaged.
were about to be engaged, I remember.
Yeah, and we were real dumb, and we thought that I had designed a real crappy game called Roller Coaster Rush, which will never see the light of day. And I was just like, I think if you play games long enough, you get the idea that you can design a game. And I was like, I can design this game. I know math, and I'll make an okay game, or what I thought was a good game, and I'll put it on Kickstarter. It'll do well. And my game was basically like doing math really quickly, like basic math really quickly, and then like it would all go wrong and be fun in real time. And then someone showed me, oh, my brain's not working, the Vlada Chvátil game where you build the spaceships and they all fall apart. Galaxy Trucker.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turned out that Vlada had already made like a really good version of my game. And so that was the end of that. And then the guys at Stratomax Games who make Tammany Hall, I wrote them on a lark, and I'm like, hey, can I have the rights to this game I really love that you underproduced? And for some reason they said yes. And then it's all in the history books.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So
It's an accident.
what did you do as a career before you started Pandasaurus?
I worked in risk management on Wall Street.
Oh, so that definitely helps with Kickstarter campaign management.
It does. So yeah, and it helps with my our company, generally speaking, being really risk adverse and super conservative when it comes to like spending money or doing things. And Molly's background, she's her degree's in journalism, which she worked for like glossy print magazines, and that's like a bad business to be in 2005, and got into marketing. So that's also a useful skill set to have on Kickstarter.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have the same chair?
We do. It's like the cheap Herman Miller knockoff that you get from China for like $150.
Oh no, I paid like $300 for mine. I got ripped off.
I have a knockoff of your knockoff then.
Okay, mine's not a knockoff. Mine's like an autonomous.
Oh no, mine's not an autonomous. Mine is a knockoff autonomous that I bought.
Oh well, now I feel robbed.
I'm probably gonna have spinal problems in the future, so it's fine.
I have a purple butt cushion that I highly recommend. Helped all of my spine problems.
So I just googled purple butt cushion.
Yes, you literally can.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
It's amazing. So, to get back on topic for everybody, outside of buying purple butt cushions, you should also go back Godspeed, which is on Kickstarter right now. I showed some of you some pictures, but we're going to close the stream out with the video after I asked Nathan, is there anything on Kickstarter right now that you want to give a quick shout out to before we go?
That's not ours?
I mean, that's not yours, yeah, because we tried to share the love.
Yeah, I'm backing, I know that Sovereign Skies from Nolan Nasser, that's his name. That's not his company's name. His company's name is Deepwater. He's great. I know Lucky Duck just launched something that looks super good. I don't remember the name of it, but Vincent's also super great.
Yeah.
I backed a bunch of games that just ended. I'm really in for the new version of Successors, which is like a dope war game that I think Avalon Hill did first, about like Alexander the Great died and you have to like get his body back, like you're trying to like carve up his empire.
Okay.
Fun. I think it ended though, so you can't go get it. Maybe there's a late pledge, but I backed too many Kickstarters, like a lot.
That's fair. It says right now Pandasaurus backed 100, but I'm assuming you have your own account because that one.
I have an account too. That's like the company one.
Yeah, that one's private anyway. I can't see anything you backed. Darn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for giving them a shout out. We're going to show everybody the Godspeed trailer to end this. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Tune in again in an hour and a half because I'll be back talking about Edge of Darkness. See you soon.
Humanity has always looked to the stars. But by the mid-20th century, we wanted to touch them. While the space race captured the public's imagination, our government had discovered an alternative path forward. A wormhole to another planet. I was to be the first through, the first human to step foot on another planet.
Godspeed, Corporal.
Houston, do you copy? You're a long way from Houston, comrade.
Turns out, we were a few steps behind.
アメリカが到着したと指揮官に報告してください。アメリカが到着しました。アメリカが到着したと指揮官に報告してください。